During the Hungry Ghost Festival in Hong Kong, the boundary between our world and the spirit realm is said to be at its thinnest. Offerings are made, prayers are whispered, all in hopes of appeasing the restless souls that roam the earth. But what happens when a simple ritual meant to honor the dead goes horribly wrong? This is the story of a mother, a daughter, and their paper offerings, seemingly innocent objects that became the focus of something far more sinister. In this tale, titled Paper Dolls, we'll explore the chilling consequences of offending those in the afterlife. Now, let me take you back to where it all began.
It was during the Hungry Ghost Festival when I decided to buy 2 paper dolls for my niece, who had passed away earlier that year. The air was thick with the smell of burning incense, and the streets were lined with makeshift altars, flickering under the dim light of lanterns. I held my daughter's hand as we wandered through the market, the colorful paper offerings swaying in the humid breeze. As we passed a stall, my daughter tugged at my sleeve.
Mommy, look! Those dolls are so pretty!
Her eyes sparkled as she pointed at 2 delicate paper dolls, dressed in vibrant, traditional clothes. I decided to buy the one she picked out, but explained to her that these were not toys. They were meant for her cousin, to be sent to the afterlife. But she didn't seem to understand.
They're too pretty to burn.
She pouted, clutching one of the dolls tightly. When the time came to burn the offerings that night, the sky had turned a deep, velvety black, with only the faintest sliver of moonlight breaking through the clouds. The crackling sound of burning paper filled the air, mixed with the soft chants of prayers echoing in the distance. I gathered the paper dolls, ready to place them into the flames, but my daughter refused to let one of them go. She clung to the doll, her small hands gripping it with surprising strength.
No, I want to keep this one.
She insisted, her voice trembling. I tried to reason with her, but she grew more upset, her face flushed with frustration. In her anger, she did something I hadn't anticipated. With a quick, harsh motion, she tore the doll's head in half. The sound of paper ripping seemed to echo louder than it should have, and I felt a chill run down my spine. I tried to shake off the unease and completed the ritual, burning the offerings. I decided not to include the torn doll for fear of upsetting my niece with a damaged toy in the afterlife. But as the flames consumed the paper, I couldn't ignore the knot of anxiety forming in my stomach. Back at the house, I decided to throw the torn paper doll into the dustbin. That night, as we settled in for bed, I noticed how quiet the house had become. The usual comforting hum of the city was absent, replaced by an oppressive silence. Then, in the middle of the night, my daughter's cries shattered the stillness. I rushed to her room, only to find her burning with fever, her skin slick with sweat. Her eyes were wide open, but she wasn't seeing me. She was seeing something else, something terrifying. Her small voice trembled as she spoke, words that made my blood run cold.
She's angry, Mommy. She said the doll was hers, and I broke it.
I held her close, trying to soothe her, but the fever wouldn't break. Her delirium worsened, and with every hour that passed, I grew more desperate. Her ramblings became more coherent, filled with apologies to her cousin and pleas for forgiveness. Unable to bear it any longer, I sought out a shaman the next day, hoping for answers. The shaman listened carefully, his face grave.
"You have offended a spirit,"
he said, his voice low and steady.
"Your niece is upset and she demands to be appeased."
Following his instructions, I gathered new offerings, more paper dolls, food, and incense. We performed the ritual as the shaman instructed, each action deliberate, each prayer sincere. The smoke from the burning offerings rose into the night, twisting and swirling in the heavy air. As the last of the paper turned to ash, I felt a sudden release, like a tight band had snapped inside my chest. The fever began to go down, and my daughter's breathing became steady. The next morning, she awoke, weak but herself again. She sat up slowly, looking at me with wide, solemn eyes.
I'm sorry, Mommy. I didn't mean to make her mad.
I nodded, hugging her tightly. We went together that day to buy more paper dolls, this time making sure they were perfect. As we burned them, my daughter whispered a small apology to her cousin, her voice soft but sincere. From that day on, I made sure to teach her the importance of respecting traditions, especially during the Hungry Ghost Festival. We never spoke of the incident again, but every year we make our offerings with care, knowing that even the smallest actions can offend the unseen.
Thank you for being part of this eerie journey. If this story gave you chills, please give it a thumbs up, share it with fellow horror fans, and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay cautious.